Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde, Jean-Guy Bourguignon on EFA19 on this Thursday, April 16th. Today I want to talk about the programming and the breeding of rats within our society, within our nations, all nations, globally. This is happening everywhere, right? And when I say rats, I'm talking about snitches. I'm talking about snitches. I'm talking about the 311, the 411, all those people that I talked about in my previous episodes, the window FBI, the window CIA, the window RCMP, the window enforcement agents that love to rat out on their law-abiding neighbors and community members. I live on a 2728 house street, quiet residential country setting community. Everybody has lots of space, acreage, and etc. And I heard last night about a neighbor that got called on by another neighbor, and bylaws showed up because the children were talking to the children, etc. And I want to talk about this today because, again, 1310 this morning in Ottawa, Rob Snow was actually talking about that same subject, how in this country there's been a rise in people calling on people, people snitching, people ratting people out. And I look at all the finger pointing that's going on right now in the world. I know that we should have been prepared, and there's this country and that country should have done ought or should have known to do better. They shouldn't have done what they're doing. Their people are constantly communicated with not to do this, not to do that, but they still do it. So now the whole world's affected because we weren't ready. Right? We have enough of that, correct? That we don't need snitches and rats to call neighbors out to say they're doing this and they're doing that. If you're so bored, if you're so bored and you have so much time on your hand, pick up a broom, put some gloves on, double wrap your face with balaclavas and winter coats and zip up like when we were a kid, we used to be double wrapped in fajita going to school in the skidoo suits. Cover yourself completely. Go out on our streets. Don't stop. Remember, you can't stop. You can't stop and can't talk to nobody, but you can get out in your street, right? So make sure that you're fully wrapped and go out with gloves and bags and that. Go clean our ditches. Go sweep our streets. You want a cardio program? Triple wrap yourself. Make sure you're well covered. You're not contaminated, being contaminated. Get your bag, get your gloves, get a broom. Don't stop and go sweep our streets. There's graffiti on our public walls and city walls and business walls out there. The business people that have to clean the graffiti because if they don't, the city shows up, they clean it, they charge 3-4 times the cost, and they send you an invoice. All that graffiti, they would love you to volunteer and go clean that graffiti for them if you're so bored. If you're so bored that you need to call out your neighbors, and I get agitated by this because that's my background. And one of my backgrounds, I did that. I did enforcement, and we would get the calls. See, and I'm going to talk to the people of Ottawa right now, but I'm going to talk to the world. Think of your most beautiful, precious landmarks within your cities. Think of your parks and your restaurants and your theaters and your boardwalks and your ice pads in the winter and etc. that are paid for by the tax system and developers. Remember, I talked about the developers in the community and the businesses that contribute to all these funds that build all these things. So all those parks and all those things that I'm talking about right now, and those beautiful landmarks within your cities that were built by those cities, those same places. As an enforcement agent, I would used to get tons of phone calls and pictures and videos by individuals that would rat people out, call people out, put pressures on trades, put pressures on business owners, calling out on their neighbors, etc., by the exact same people that are now enjoying all those beautiful parks and boardwalks and ice facilities and restaurants and theaters, etc., etc., etc. If you're so bored, right? If you're so bored, there's cardio programs out there that you can do, street sweeping, ditch cleaning. There's lots of that. You can double wrap your face. Like I said, you don't even have to stop, like I mentioned. You can make sure that you comply with all the rules and regulations of the COVID-19 cover, right? And you can be productive members of society instead of being unproductive. We have enough unproductiveness. We have enough finger pointing. Do you remember that my enforcement agency stuff that I just told you about and how people are calling on people and send pictures and videos and that? I remember one case that I did. The person kept calling and writing out on their neighbor, and they eventually got my cell phone number because I asked, give it my cell phone number, speak to me direct. I've already been there 3, 4 times. And when they did talk to me, they talked to me on the phone. And I had to follow up because that's my job as an enforcement agency. When we do get a complaint, whether it's 31411, whether it's city, municipal, provincial, law enforcement, they have to respond. They go and respond. They are doing their jobs. And a lot of those times while doing their job, they have to give tickets, like I explained in the previous episode, because they have quotas, because they have pressures, and because the same neighbors that rat people out are also neighbors that like to videotape enforcement people and to see if they're doing their jobs. So that enforcement person has to give a ticket, right? That scenario, I remember one time being in a scenario with one of those people that called in and ratted out and on a cell phone, and I showed up, and that person came on the property to compliment their neighbors on the beautiful project they're doing, and I recognized the voice, the rat, the snitch, that was calling on his beautiful neighbor and being friendly to them. Hey, how are you? Beautiful project you have there. Those individuals, that's why I get annoyed. They're the same individuals that are high and wavy in the morning, but the same individuals in the window calling people in. And I'm not talking about law enforcement issues here. I'm not talking 911. I'm not talking medical emergencies. I'm not talking about critical, real situations. I'm talking about calling on your neighbors because their children are playing with their children, or they've caught them slowing down the vehicle, dropping on the window. They weren't 6 feet away and they're waving at their neighbor. Those are the people that really, if you're that bored, if you have that much time on your hand, if you want to be that productive in life, there's a lot of work out there. There's a lot of ditches to be cleaned. There's a lot of streets to be swept. Cardio, right? You want cardio? Go and wrap yourself up, triple wrap yourself up, go out with a broom, don't stop, and keep sweeping, right? If you're that bored. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA19, wishing each and every one of you a productive, healthy, and amicable relationships with your neighbors. Thank you. Merci.